This is Craig AC5KW, and this is TC Aries Training. In a significant emergency, local first responders establish an incident command post at or near the scene of the emergency to manage the response. All of our local government agencies use the Incident Command System, ICS. The online FEMA ICS 100 and ICS 200 training courses describe the basics of ICS. Both courses are required training for ARES responders. An ARES emergency coordinator may request deployment of ARES members to the incident command post or to another site of the emergency to support the disaster response. This is done at the request of the incident commander or based on prior agreements. ARES members are strongly discouraged from self-deploying to an incident. This is because an influx of unneeded volunteers complicates the disaster response and distracts professional responders that could otherwise be protecting life and property. After learning of an emergency, monitor the ARES Resource Net repeater on 146.94 MHz. Emergency coordinators will use this frequency to provide updates and direct an ARES response. Should you be called upon to support an emergency response, you must follow the ICS procedures for volunteer responders. First, verify that you and your family are safe and secure. You cannot effectively respond if you're distracted. Travel to the deployment site safely. Make sure that your vehicle is safe to drive and has sufficient endurance to reach the incident site and return from the site. You must have a valid registration, inspection, and insurance. Emergency sites often present unusual hazards, such as road debris that can damage tires, high water areas, and downed power lines. Displaced people can also appear in unexpected places, or may be disoriented or injured. Proceed slowly and cautiously, always protecting yourself and others. Take your identification documents, badges, ARES certification, FEMA, and other government-issued certificates. Follow any procedures specified by the emergency coordinator. Volunteers must check in at the incident command post or designated area immediately upon arrival. The incident commander or his designated representative may log check-ins, but it's more likely they will delegate the function to an intake coordinator. ARES communicators are assigned to the logistics section under the communications unit leader in the ICS structure. Following check-in, you should expect to receive a safety briefing and an incident response briefing. Other instructions pertinent to the function will be given if your support was requested by the incident commander. When deploying equipment, make sure to follow safe procedures for erecting antennas, grounding generators, managing electricity, storing fuel, and providing appropriate safety notices. Make sure that any person or equipment in your area will be safe from harm. You will be required to keep a unit or individual log of your activities while deployed. The ICS Form 214 activity log should be used and maintained continuously throughout the operational period. You will also be required to keep a log and copies of all messages related to the incident. The ICS Form 309 is used for this purpose. It is increasingly common that communications of ICS Form 213 will be required. You will need additional training and equipment to correctly handle them. When your work shift is completed, check out with the incident commander or the delegated staff. Make sure you leave the logs and documentation with the incident command staff. Governments are intent on preserving all documentation. One of its many uses is to document the expenses incurred for reimbursement by state and federal governments. Local responding organizations may receive reimbursements for the time and expense associated with necessary volunteer activities. When being relieved by another ARES communicator, you'll conduct a shift change briefing with your relief to ensure that you cover everything that occurred during the shift as well as any requirement for the next operational period. Leave the area promptly. Incident command staff are already stressed. They won't tolerate volunteers that are hanging around without a purpose. Current emergency management doctrine places ARES communicators in the role of backup to the primary communications means. In almost every deployment, the professional responders are accommodating ARES involvement because their primary communication means are adequate. But many realize that we have been badly needed in the past and that we will be needed again in the future. We need the knowledge, skills, and mindset to perform our volunteer functions on their terms, so that when they do need us, we'll be there. To take the FEMA training, go online to http://training.fema.gov/is/CRS-list.asp. The recommended training is the IS 100B, the Introduction to Incident Command System, ICS 100, IS 200B, ICS for Single Resource and Initial Action Incidents, IS 201, Forms used for the development of the Incident Action Plan, IS 802, Emergency Support Function, ESF, Number 2, Communications, IS 700A, National Incident Management System, NIMS, an Introduction, IS 800B, National Response Framework, an Introduction, IS 775, EOC Management and Operations. There are many training courses that are offered by the FEMA Emergency Management Institute, which build upon one another, offering the Aries communicators with a vast amount of knowledge and resources to learn what is expected from responders and support resources during the emergencies of all levels. This is Craig AC5KW, and this has been TC Aries Training.